Well, good morning, folks, and Happy New Year. It's the first day of 2024, and 2023 was an exciting year. All sorts of things going on politically and economically. And looking back on 2023, turned out to be rather a good trading year. We ended November and December incredibly strong, but we did have a pretty difficult time in October getting caught offside on the dollar yen. Whilst everything else was doing pretty well, the dollar yen kept on rallying higher and higher as the carry trade differential between the yen and the dollar remained extremely large, and the dollar kept on rallying against all the currencies, in fact. Notwithstanding that difficult time around about that time of the year, we finished really strong, and November and December were excellent months, and 2023 turned out to be an overall success. It's now New Year's Day and we're facing a brand new year, 2024. And I always find this incredibly exciting. There are all sorts of opportunities and prospects that lie ahead in 2024. I don't think it's going to be an easy year. I think it's going to be incredibly difficult. And there are going to be all sorts of different things going on that we're not prepared for properly. And that includes a very nasty, difficult and unpredictable election cycle, which of course is going to affect the markets. And also the way the Fed approaches their strategy going into the first part of the year. I don't think Jerome Powell and his pals in the White House and BlackRock would be particularly happy with anything unforeseen, anything weird, anything unpredictable or unexpected, like dramatic rate cuts or dramatic rate hikes or rates higher for longer. And of course, we're going to get all sorts of influence on the markets from China, from the Russia-Ukraine situation, from Israel-Hamas, and the general economic prospects for 2024, and the potential for an economic downturn, perhaps a soft landing, but perhaps a hard landing. Everyone's kind of banking on a soft landing at this point, so all the risk lies to the downside for the markets. Bear that in mind. The markets have become incredibly optimistic and buoyant. We're in extreme greed on the meter, and everyone's feeling rather excited about 2024 and the prospects for gold and stocks and uranium and other things to continue to rally and give massive profits. Therein lies the big danger. Too much optimism, too much hype, too much FOMO, and everyone getting into one side of this market. So it's going to be tricky. Having said all that, I'm going to go through some of these charts and give you my broad ideas for the market, remembering that these ideas can change. The markets can and will change as the year progresses. So we're not going to be right on everything. There are going to be many occasions where we get things completely wrong, but hopefully we'll get them right more often than not. I'm going to go through these charts one by one very briefly and give you these broad themes and ideas that I have, bearing in mind, as I said, that they may change. But I'd like you to do something for me. First of all, I'd like you to subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so already, so you don't miss future videos. And I'd appreciate a thumbs up too. But more importantly, what I want you to do is to write down in the comments section what you're interested in 2024, your trading ideas, or something that you're interested in, but you're not too sure about that you'd like some further discussion and guidance upon. Put all of your questions and your suggestions and your ideas and your strategies up in the comments section. And what I'll do for the rest of this week and perhaps into next week is I'll go through all of those comments, questions, suggestions, ideas, and talk about them in the video. So hopefully you'll get some validation of your ideas or some answers to your questions. Having said all that, let's go straight into the charts. All right, so let's go through the charts quickly. I'm not going to spend a lot of time because I want this video to be about collecting your ideas and your questions in the comments section below, which I'll respond to in subsequent videos. But I'm going to give you some very broad themes, and we'll cover currencies and stocks and commodities, metals and that sort of thing, energies. So let's go and have a look at this. And I'm literally just going to go across these tabs from left to right. So I've got currencies and then stocks and indices, metals, energies, and then other commodities. So let's start with the dollar very briefly, because this is sort of the foundation for a lot of different things. We've now reached the support level down here around the 78.6% fib. And I think the dollar is going to be pretty range bound for 2024. So we'll be looking to sell rallies and to buy dips basically. And that will be traded across the major currencies like the dollar yen, the euro, the pound, the Swiss franc, the Australian dollar, Canadian dollar, etc. So we'll be looking to buy extremities at the low points and sell extremities at the high points. Don't think we're going to see a major collapse in the dollar in 2024, but I also don't think we're going to see major appreciation. So we'll be looking to sell the tops, buy the bottoms. Let me know what you think about the dollar going into 2024. And on this screen, I've got the majors I normally trade. That's the euro and the pound and the dollar yen, the biggest ones really, and then the dollar index, which we've just looked at. Let's go across the stock indices, and I think this is best illustrated by going across to my Twitter page. So this is my Twitter or X feed. I do put the X posts up in the community area on our YouTube channel for those of you who don't follow Twitter, but it's a very good idea to follow me on X anyway because I post throughout the day. This is the stock chart I've just put up recently. This is basically what I think this year holds. We're either here or we're here. Have a look at this chart, pause the video. If we're over here, we've got the downside coming up fairly soon or immediately. But if we're over here, we may have some upside still before the eventual decline later in 2024. On balance, I think think considering it's an election year, the economic numbers are pretty strong still, and there's still a bit of cash floating around. I think the scenario number 2 is more likely. So I think we'll probably get a bit of a rally into the Fed rate cut cycle. In other words, the first cut, or maybe even the elections later in the year, maybe even more likely, before a drop in the stock markets. There are a lot of posts that I put up here during the day, every single day. There's something about ARC there, which we may be looking to sell soon. But then I think this chart paints a similar picture to the scenario 2 we just saw, where we could get a little bit more of a rally somewhere around the Fed pivot time and perhaps around about the election time, which puts it pretty late in the year. We might find the top in the market. If this doesn't happen, and this is really important, we may have to see the markets coming off quite dramatically now and then rallying in towards the election period. That would make more sense to me than an early rally followed by a dip prior to the elections. That does not make sense. But if we get an early dip followed by a rally prior to the elections, that might make more sense. So either of these two scenarios could work out. Just to remind you, here they are again. So it's either this scenario or this scenario. One of them is going to work out. We'll continue to look to buy stocks into dips and eventually sell stocks later in the year closer to the election. I think that's pretty simple, really. We are actually currently short on NASDAQ, Nvidia, and the US 30, the Dow. But those might be for a pretty short-term pullback. Unless we get scenario 1, which is this one here, a pullback right now followed by a rally into the elections. If that's not going to happen, then we'll have to see the markets rally up into the first Fed rate cut or the elections. I want you to pay attention to the Fed interest rate. That's the sort of orange line on this chart as well. You can see the first drop comes just prior to or during around about the start of the first Fed rate cut. That's going to be super interesting, but for now we're short and we'll be looking to buy later on for that rally into the election process. When it comes to metals, well, essentially it's buy gold on dips. We're already slightly long on gold. We'll be looking to buy dips. I think gold's got a fantastic future going into 2024. This is the day chart in gold. We've just started to nudge into some long positions. We could get some pullbacks down into the low 1900s, even the high 1800s before continuation of this rally. But I'm not 100% convinced either way. We may just move up from here and leave everyone behind. Those thinking about buying dips will miss out. Although those ones that get in early, like I have done, just a little bit, might have to bear some pain as the market drops off a bit before the rally. Switching to the weekly chart, my target for gold is quite a long way above us. Actually, let's go. I'm going to have to compress this scale and pull it down. And we're talking somewhere up around about $2,500 to $2,700. That's going to take some time to play out. We might need to be a little bit patient, or we might have to buy dips and average in as gold continues to move around and test those who are trading on both sides of the market. Silver, I think, will follow suit. Copper, I'm not too sure about. I think copper's got some downside as the economic slowdown potentially speeds up. That's a bit of an oxymoron. We could see copper coming off a wee bit, but if we do get some really deep dips on copper, I'd be looking to buy that. Platinum, perhaps the same sort of thing. And uranium, we're long on UEC and long on URA. I think the uranium trading instruments are going to edge up over the next number of years. I don't think it's going to be a dramatic or fast process, and I think we're going to have to be patient with that. But we are long on both of those. No harm done in that. Let me know what you think about gold and uranium. I'd be really interested to hear your views. I know gold's very split. A lot of people are long, a lot of people are short, a lot of people on the side. So I'd love to hear your view on gold and also on uranium. There was a lot of hype about uranium a couple of months ago and gold, and we profited handsomely from all of that. But I think we might have to faff around for a bit going into the first part of this year. Talking about carrying pain, I want to point out to you this dollar yen trade that we got involved with and took some pain on, and that was during October, actually sort of late September, as we broke through this resistance level and then continued to move up, catching us off sides and quite a lot of other people off sides as well, and then eventually followed by this dramatic crash. We were selling all the way up here and we've taken loads of profit on this trade. I think this is going to continue to move lower, and I'm looking for a target of around about 135. This remains my favorite currency play at the moment. I said earlier that we could see currencies in the dollar ranging during this early part of the year, but I think if there's any currency that offers a better opportunity or a bit more excitement, it's probably the dollar yen. We've probably got about 1,600 pips to go before we reach the bottom here at around 132 to 130. So I think this is going to continue to move down, but in order to balance out the dollar index, which I think is going to be pretty much range bound for the most part of this year, we'll have to see the euro and the pound and the Aussie and the Swiss franc, etc., come off a wee bit to accommodate any drops in the dollar yen. Sorry about that digression. I'd also be interested to hear what you think about dollar yen and the whole scenario regarding Japanese economy, interest rates, and their interest rate policy. Finally, let's go to this last commodities page. Natural gas, I think we've talked about a lot. I think the themes are going to be we're holding above $2 probably most of the time. We might have to visit just below $2. I don't think so, though. And I think we'll try and hold above $2.50 and then move around $4 down to about $3, maybe $2.50 throughout the rest of 2024. We'll be looking to buy dips down towards the $2 region, which we are already in now. and we'll be looking to sell rallies higher up to around about $4 or $4.50. The US 10-year yield, I think, will find some footing here, and we'll see that begin to pick up a wee bit, but probably range bound along with the dollar, as I said before. Bitcoin, I think we'll probably see a little bit of a dip and then another big rally. So the way I want to play Bitcoin this year, and I do want to play it this year because I want to get those dips, is I'll be looking for dips down to anything above 30,000. Anything above 30,000, which is where the 200 period moving average is considered a buy to me. And I'll start to perhaps look to edge into this at around 36,000 and then down at these swing highs here at about 31.5 to 32,000. And we've got the 200-day moving average at 30,000. Look how we've bounced off the 200-day many times before, particularly recently over there, here, and around about this level, and more recently in October. And I think we could pull back into that sort of region. This week, we're going to hear about the BlackRock and potentially other ETFs. And the market's been incredibly bullish based on that. Not so much a rumor anymore, more of a fact. And that, I think, caused this rally up from the 200 MA up to the 45,000 mark, which is where we are now. But I think this might be a buy the rumor, sell the news type of scenario, which could shove Bitcoin down quite dramatically. We've also got the Bitcoin halving this year. I'm not too experienced in Bitcoin. Actually, I don't think anyone is. There's not enough history on Bitcoin to make hard and fast rules or to build out patterns. So I don't know. But I do think that Bitcoin has a good future. I'm not willing to buy at these current levels. I'm looking to buy at around about 32,000 to 36,000 and perhaps hold those positions for a rally to the 61.8% Fibonacci, the golden pocket. It's also a previous swing high on a number of occasions. I think that's our target, around 49,000. And I think the opportunities to buy dips will be somewhere between 36 and 30,000. And that's the way I want to play Bitcoin going into 2024. Right, we're long on the VIX. I think the VIX will fluctuate as it always does. Right now, we're right at the bottoms. I think the market's going to have a bit of a correction. I think we could see a little bit of opportunity to profit from VIX, so we're long on that. Three of the fantastic profit stories for us in 2023 were not actually all on Forex or stocks or anything like that, but on commodities. We had a fantastic year selling sugar. It took a bit of time. We started selling as we rallied up into this area, and for months and months and months, we held that short trade, and then we got this dramatic collapse. We took profits at around about 21.8, 21.5, somewhere around there. So we got most of that move down. Fantastic profit on sugar. We did the same thing on London cocoa futures, and we've been selling these rallies up towards this red line. We've taken 30% profit on this trade, and we continue to sell rallies on London. The target for this is way down. I'm not going to go into details, but around about 3,000 or so, perhaps lower, down to the 200 period moving average. And that's at around 2,700. So we remain short on London cocoa. And I think commodities in general during 2024, at least for the first part of it, we'll see commodity prices continue to come down. And that will probably include oil and wheat and sugar and all of those softs and so on, and some of the grains. And we may have to see a pullback in Bitcoin, as I've already alluded to, and perhaps gold and maybe even natural gas too. I'd love to hear your thoughts on commodities, the ones that we got on the screen, and any other ones that you might like to look at, like perhaps orange juice or coffee or something like that. I know there are a lot of keen commodities traders that follow this YouTube channel, and I'm also interested in things that some of you who are very experienced traders have got to say about some of these commodities too. So let me know in the comments. So those are my ideas very, very broadly, but I'm more interested to hear in what you've got to say and what you're thinking about, your strategies, and also your questions, which I'd love to answer in subsequent videos. So if you're not subscribed and following this channel, now's a good time to do so, and watch out for tomorrow's video. Good luck for 2024. I'm really excited about it. I hope you come along with me on this awesome, exciting, and hopefully profitable journey, and I'll speak to you tomorrow.